Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today's video is going to be a money diary of what my average week of spending looks like as a 22-year-old in DC. I absolutely love reading all the Refinery 29 articles. And I've been seeing a couple different YouTubers post this recently, but haven't seen any from DC yet. Before I jump in, I just want to address a couple of things really quick. One, I documented this from a Wednesday to a Tuesday instead of like a typical Sunday to Saturday, just because I'm traveling throughout the next couple weeks during the week, and I wanted this to be an accurate depiction of my spending and not be super influenced by random heavier fees like Ubers to airports and stuff like that. Second thing I wanted to mention is that I didn't have any major reoccurring expenses during this week. My rent's due the first month. I had already paid off my student loan for this month. I have about $60 worth of doctor's appointments for Accutane each month, but again, none of that happened to fall during this week. The third thing is that I didn't include any reimbursable expenses. My company doesn't have company credit cards, so I end up putting my card down a lot for just like random print jobs, or I booked a flight, but since that's all being reimbursed in full, I kind of consider it a blank slate and don't record it. I've only seen a couple videos here on YouTube of people documenting their spending, and they said that having to document it made them think twice about what they were purchasing, but I am absolutely anal about my spending and budgeting. So for the last 2 years, I've literally written down every single purchase I've made in a spreadsheet. So I think that this is a very accurate depiction of my spending because I'm used to having to record and document everything. And then the last thing I want to touch on quickly is that I think I'm really good at making overall budgets. For example, I know how much I can spend in a week and how much I want to spend on a month, but I don't necessarily break down how much of that goes to transit or food and stuff like that. So if that's gonna bother you, like, feel free to exit out of this video. So with all of that out of the way, let's just jump in. The first day that I wrote down was Wednesday, October 16th. The first expense of the day was Spotify. This is a reoccurring payment and the only one that happened this week. So I pay $5.29 a month for a premium subscription, and I use Spotify every day. I absolutely love it. Cannot say enough good things about it. Since this was a Wednesday, I did have work. I try to pack my lunch almost every day to save a decent amount of money, but because I do that, I like to take a mid-afternoon coffee break just to get out of the office, walk around, get some fresh air. So I did that today. On Wednesday, I went to a local coffee shop across the street and got a latte, which was about $6, which is so unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. This day I actually had to step out to respond to an email for a YouTube related project, and I didn't want to do that in my office, so I was kind of paying to, one, get the latte and get out of the office, but also just have the space to take the time to respond to that email in full. The reason that I'm bringing that up is because this email was about a brand deal, and I consulted a girl named Catherine. She has a podcast, I'll leave it linked down below, but she's kind of my go-to for all of my influencer marketing questions, and she's a literal angel. I don't know what I did to deserve her. She's so patient with me, and I really value her time and all of her knowledge. So I Venmo'd her a couple dollars to go get a coffee on me as a thank you for kind of proofreading my emails and always pushing me in the right direction. And then lastly, on Wednesday, I had an event to go to that night. If you watched my work week in my life, you would have already seen that, but I ended up Ubering to and from the event. The first Uber was $8.90 and the second one was $9.86. So my total for Wednesday was $34.80, which is really high for a weekday for me, but like I said, the bulk of that was the 2 Ubers that I took, and I was in heels, it was cold. It's just the way that it had to be. Moving on to Thursday the 17th. Thursday was a much more average day in terms of work and spending. Per usual, I got coffee to break up the day. This day I went to Dunkin' and got a medium iced pumpkin coffee, which is $3.29, so not a terrible deal. Later that night I went to happy hour. I didn't get any clips of that because I didn't feel comfortable filming, but the guy I was with ended up picking up the check, which was really nice of him. So my total for Thursday only ended up being at $3.29, which I think is a lot more common than the $30 average from the day before. And moving on to Friday, I always know that the weekend is going to carry the bulk of my expenses. I got into work that morning and was super hungry for some reason. I ate breakfast, I ate a snack at work, and I was still starving. I don't know why, but I listened to my body and went to Starbucks to go get a breakfast sandwich. I thought I had enough money on my Starbucks card to cover it, but I ended up being a few cents short and just reloaded the card balance, which was $10. So not a big expense, but just annoying to do. I didn't spend any money between then and going out that night. My original plan for Friday night was to go over to my friend Haley's and watch a movie and just hang out. And Haley always picks up rounds at the bar whenever we go out, so I didn't want to show up empty-handed. So before I went over to her house, I ran over to the grocery store and just picked up chips and dip to kind of snack on throughout the movie, which ended up being about $9, I want to say. I then took an Uber to her house, which was $8.72, and then stayed for a little bit, Ubered home, which was $8.58. Again, like I said, I normally expect the weekend to carry the bulk of my expenses. I kind of factor in Ubers for the weekend, but see, where I went wrong was that I stepped in my apartment and then got a text to go to a bar, and the bar was obviously in the neighborhood that I just Ubered home from. So naturally, I changed out of my leggings and sweatshirt, Ubered to the bar, and paid cover. So the Uber to the bar was $8.94, and I Venmoed a girl $10 for my cover. She was so sweet to pay for me because I didn't have cash going in. Literally a random girl support girls. I didn't pay for any of my drinks at the bar, which was really nice. I feel like at school I always paid for my drinks regardless of my relationship status. So not paying for drinks is something that I'm definitely not used to, but financially it does work out for me. Eventually I did take another Uber home, which was $10.97, so really a big fat L of Ubers that night, because it totally could have been consolidated down to 2 Ubers instead of 4 if I had just managed my time better or thought it through, but that's just not how it worked out for me. So Friday's total was $66.19, and I will say $60 on a weekend night is not unreasonable to me. However, normally 40 of that isn't in Ubers, so that's that. Moving on to Saturday, October 19th, I clearly did not learn my lesson, and I took a Lyft to Arlington to get coffee with my friend Emma. Honestly, I don't want to talk about it. I was editing a video and lost track of time, and I really hate being late, so I decided to take a Lyft over to the coffee shop that we were going to, which seemed harmless, but it was genuinely one of the worst drivers I've ever had on Lyft or Uber or really any ride-sharing experience. The driver took so many wrong turns. We got on the highway like 3 times when we weren't supposed to, so I ended up being late anyway and just paying to be even later than I would have been if I had taken public transit. So again, another L for me in terms of Lyft and Ubers. When I finally arrived, I got a latte, which was $4.61, which honestly I think is a really great deal for a medium-sized latte with oat milk. It was genuinely one of the top 3 lattes I think I've ever had in my life, which is saying a lot because you guys know I drink a lot of coffee. After getting coffee, I met up with my dad for lunch, and he ended up paying, which was really nice of him. I took the metro home from there because I did learn my lesson this time, and I had balance on my card from whenever I'd last topped up, so that didn't cost me anything additional. And then the rest of the night I just hung out at my apartment. I was thinking of going out, but it just didn't happen. Me and all my friends were just feeling tired and lazy, so my expenses for Saturday were actually pretty low. I only spent $13.82 on Saturday. We are now on to Sunday, October 20th. I realized Sunday morning I was out of a lot of basics in my apartment, so I walked over to the grocery store and just picked up a few small things. I didn't pick up a lot though because I'm out of town this Wednesday through Saturday basically, so I really only needed groceries to carry me through that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I still had things in my house. I just needed a couple things to kind of carry me over. So I only spent about $15 on groceries that week. Normally, I'd say I spend about $60 on groceries. I go to Trader Joe's and get like a full haul of stuff. The rest of Sunday, I just worked on YouTube stuff and made all my meals at home. So my only expense that day was the grocery store, which was $15.49, I believe. The next day was Monday, October 21st. Again, another typical work day for me. I didn't pack my lunch, which isn't as typical, again, just because I didn't have enough groceries and it was cheaper for me to buy lunch out that one day than to buy a bunch of groceries to make lunch. So I went to Noodles and Company for lunch, which is one of my favorite spots just in general. They recently brought out a new like cauliflower pasta, which is really good. That's what I ordered, and my meal was $8.80, which I feel like is pretty reasonable for lunch in DC. I did get coffee later in the day, but I went to Starbucks and still had balance on my card from Friday morning when I had to reload, so that essentially didn't cost me any additional money. I was planning on eating dinner at home last night, but spontaneously decided to get dinner with my friend Anna. I hadn't seen her in a couple weeks, and it was really great to hang out with her. We went to Busboys and Poets, which is one of my favorite spots in the city if you want good food at a reasonable price. With tax and tip, my meal was about $16, which I feel like is pretty reasonable for dinner in a city, and that brought my Monday total to $24.64. And finally, that brings us to today, which is Tuesday, October 22nd. I actually didn't spend any money today. We had an event at work, and I was there from basically 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We had lunch at the event, so I ate that. I didn't even get coffee today because it was so busy between the event and just finishing up other things before we go to Texas tomorrow that I kind of blinked and the day was over. It's about 6 p.m. now. I am home for the night. It's raining. I really don't anticipate leaving this apartment, so I think it's safe to say that today I somehow spent $0, which is a win in my book. If anybody wants to guess what my grand total was for this week, feel free to pause the video now. So when you add everything up, my total for the week was $158.23. So the way that I typically log my finances didn't perfectly align with the way that I filmed this video, but on average, I aim to spend about $200 a week. That's what I can comfortably spend with my student loans, with 401k stuff, and my rent, and every other expense in my life to feel comfortable paying off my credit card in full. So I was actually under budget by about $40 this week, and I do think a big part of that was the fact that I didn't have to do a full grocery shopping. But even with that, I think this was a pretty accurate depiction of my weekly spending. Some things were more expensive than others. Even though I didn't spend as much on groceries, I definitely spent more on Ubers than I usually do. So I find that as long as I'm under that $200 budget, it kind of all evens out in the end. I know not everybody's going to agree with that perspective, but that's kind of what's worked well for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I absolutely love reading the Refinery 29 articles and have really enjoyed seeing a lot of people start making these videos. So comment down below if you want to see another one of these or with a different focus or anything like that. Thank you guys for the support as always, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.